Hello, this is Rats with Team 4545 League, analyzing the game between Lucas and Swag Overload. This was played in Team Event 53. Got a couple higher rated players, not sure if this is under 2,000 or under 2,200. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, got a little lag, hopefully that'll go away. Okay, so we've got just a quiet little opening. This is an interesting move. I've seen it a number of times in games. The idea is it's Queen's Indian style, but black is saying that my pawn is a little more valuable to me on b5 than on b6 because I'll be able to do some things with it. And unless white can go and capture that pawn directly, or then black can often get away with it. It's similar in some respects to what they call the Polish opening or Sokolowski's opening, where white plays 1b4. But I've seen some black defenses where they do this, and some of the strategies that black will employ against 1b4 can come into play in this type of position, even though we're a few moves down the line, because a lot of those concepts just don't go away. So what are white's alternatives here? Candidate moves a4. Knight c3 isn't so good because the knight may just get kicked and doesn't really have a good square to go to. Or you can just ignore it and develop. Okay. And that's what white chooses. Okay, so now black is happily thrusting his wing pawns. And sometimes if you okay, what's the basic rule if you know that? What's the best way to meet a wing attack? Does anybody know? You should know the answer. The answer is to strike in the center. That's how you handle a wing attack. Okay, so let's think about it. We're only at move 5. White's not ready to strike in the center at this point, is he? No, he's not. He doesn't have his development completed. He's got his kingside castled, and he needs to develop his entire queenside. Well, black hasn't developed either. Okay, so a good way to strike in the in the center is to find moves that continue the development and do just that. Now, here's one of them. Let me just show you, and you'll see my idea. Okay, bishop g5, and the reason that's not the only candidate move here. The reason that I suggest it is because if black takes on d4, and there's no guarantee he will, white is now playing in the center. His queen can take on d4, even though it could get tempoed. That closes off this diagonal for a moment. Or he could take with the knight, and after the bishops are traded, black has to deal with this pawn on b5 being loose. Okay? Now, what are black's alternatives here? Okay, well, black can play h6. Now white, whoops, got to get the original position. Okay, black bishop g5. Okay, black can play h6, and the purpose of this is to offer a knight trade. Then if a bishop for knight, if white does that, black's getting his queen centralized. So we don't necessarily want that. But what we've done is we just wanted to provoke a little weakness on the king side for later. And now the true intent, which was a candidate move to begin with, is to just put the bishop on f4, and now that bishop is striking in the center. Okay, and we're letting black's wing attack sit there. Now, what white now wants to follow up with, he's got to do it with a little preparation, is knight bd2, rook e1, and e4. And if you don't want like rook e1, you can play it one move slower and go c3, queen c2, and e4. And that's the way to strike in the center, although it's really too early to do anything, but you want to play in the center. So that's just an alternative to what white played. Now, that's basically meeting a wing move with a wing move. Now, it still prepares to play in the center, so we're not going to entirely criticize it. But I'm just giving an idea of different ways to play this. Okay, now white does play bishop f4, which is something I was suggesting. And let's just stop and take a look. We've played 7 moves. Development is even, Both sides have developed 3 minor pieces. Both sides are castled. Both sides, queen side's back rank, are exactly the same. They're symmetrical. So is white any closer to getting e4 in? Well, maybe a wee bit. He's still 2 moves away from just 3 moves actually. 2 moves to prepare it. Well, 2 moves to prepare it and play it on the 3rd move. Knight bd2, and then either queen c2 or rook e1, and then white can play e4. And arguably you might be able to find a quicker way if you trade off the light squared bishops, but that's also spends a move. So anyway, white's not there yet. So I'm not sure d takes c5 is the answer there, because now you're answering a wing move and taking away from playing in the center. There should be nothing wrong with the move, but I'm just saying logically, if you want to really hammer down and squeeze somebody to death, you're gonna develop a piece rather than improve the position of black's pieces by exchanges. And I'm going to show you the culprit in this game right here. Look at the times. Okay, 48 minutes and 37 seconds after 7 moves, and 48 minutes and 56 seconds after 7 moves. Both sides are playing extremely quick. How can you really make a proper assessment? Did white ever consider that the way to handle a wing attack is to play in the center? Did he ever think of that? When did he have time? I don't know. Both sides are playing quick. Okay, so let's see. What did he take on that? 23 seconds there, plus 1, 24. He took 21 seconds on a move which more or less violates the basic principles of chess. You meet a wing attack with a center thrust. Okay, so now he's also violated one of Nimzovich's principles. You're making exchanges that develop your opponent's pieces. Now that bishop's on c5 is much better posted on c5 than it was on f2. And if you look, the bishops are almost opposing each other. The white squared bishops are on this diagonal, and then the dark squared bishops are on an adjacent diagonal. But to me, who's look more potent? Well, it's easy to see. Black's do. They're both attacking useful, let me rephrase that. They're both attacking. The bishop on c5, even though it's not threatening anything, it's pressuring a key square. We all know f2 is a key square at any time in the game, that if you're going to do any kind of an attack against the king, that's your prime square. The other one is h2, because that's one that can often lead to a checkmate. And the fianchetto bishops of blacks is the one that's attacking. The one of whites, it's defending. It's stopping black from doubling white's pawns. That's what it's doing. It's white might think about moving that knight and taking some of the pressure off that black has in this position. But then he's going to end up with a lot of pawns stuck on black squares, and that's one thing I said. You want to play your middle game so if you down to one bishop, the pawns are on the opposite color of your bishop. And you want your opponent's pawns to be on the color of his bishop. So logically, what white should seek to do is trade the dark squared bishops. And keeping that bishop back on e7 would have served his purpose, because it's out of play there, and white doesn't need to trade either bishop. He can just start developing and playing in the center and keep both his bishops and trying to get them to look as nice as black's do. Okay, so let's go forward. As I was saying, white probably wants to trade those bishops, so that's a good way to do it. Okay. And white's gaining more time on the clock, and actually at this point white does look okay. And the king sides are almost a complete match, and the queen sides are almost a complete match, except white's queen is moved up to d6. Okay, so now black gets a tempo, and this is a good square for the knight. And how's white going to drive it out? Well, he's not. Now, I'm not sure if that was the best square to go to. Ideally, the queen should head for c2, because it's just a little safer there. Okay, and the way to do that is queen to d3. And if the knight goes to c5, you can play to c2. And then again, maybe black just starts molesting the queen a little bit, but I think the queen is misplaced on b4. So looks like black, for the price that white paid to trade those dark square bishops, is coming into light. That black's getting some activity, and part of it was because his bishop's a little better than white's bishop. As I said, this bishop was attacking. Now it's not defending the knight on e4. It's anchoring the knight in on e4, right? Okay, so might be just wise to admit that trading the bishops was a mistake, and let's just trade down to a drawn position. I'll play knight bd2 next and start trading pieces. So anyway, let's see what happens. Okay, queen b4 and d5. Now that almost looks anti-positional because now black's shutting in his bishop. But black starts getting this good game here, and he's willing to give up this pawn, which white really can't take. His queen's going to get in some trouble, and if anything, black will win the pawn back. But let's just move on. Okay. And black avoids an exchange. And this, it seems logical, but black just starts finding good moves. Now, as I said, that queen was a target on b4. It was a little misplaced. Where does it go? Probably what it should do is just run over to h4 and trade queens, or run to f4. Those just seem to be safer squares. So white just starts exposing the queen a little bit more. And here comes another tempo, and now white should not do what he did. He should once again move the queen. Admit he made a mistake, but let's just look back and see how much time did white spend on queen a3. Okay, 50-22. He spent 48 seconds, but it's just not enough time. You know, queen f4 centralizes the queen. You can go back to playing in the center. Then you can anchor the knight in on e5 and start looking for ways to redeploy it. Then get your bishop activated. Maybe start thinking about preparing e4, striking in the center finally. Anyway, let's just move forward so I don't waste a lot of time. But this is a mistake by white too. I believe now he has the worst of it positionally. And it's all happened at a price. And black is taking his time. Black's figuring these moves out. But white has the serious positional deficiency here, and that's the b3 square. And it just gets magnified here as the games move on. And it's white's move. It might look innocent. Rook d1. I'm not sure if that was the best move to commit to right away because we don't know exactly where we want the rooks. But if you just go ahead and occupy d4, that's a good square for the knight. If black pushes to kick you out, well, you've got some more good squares. You can go to f5 with the idea coming back to d3 and pressure these pawns, right? Or e3, pressure those pawns. You can go to b5 and then maybe shoot for queen d6 and get that knight into d6 where it'll gain time, and then maybe hop back to f5 and do the same things. But rook d1, it's almost like what white's trying to do is set up some kind of a tactic where this pawn is pinned and white's going to capture on c4, but white's not even ready to capture on c4. But it seems like that's what he's trying to do here. But again, let's see. Let's look at the clock. 50-50, and 26. 30. He spent 9 seconds on the move. I'll tell you right now, white had no plan. It was an impulsive move, one that he would play in blitz chess based on the tactics that I just explained. The d4 pawn can't take on c4 if white goes and attacks it, and that's what it is. Okay, white's playing impulsively. And this is the time now where he really needs to sit down and think, because he's getting a bad game. And again, this is logical. It's something I pointed out, but he could have done it a move earlier. But I guess the way it stands now is that the knight, when it goes to b5, if it does, it will have a tempo. And black just plays as logically as he can. And what white really, really, truly needs to do right now is just sit here and take a breath and play a5. Because he needs to keep that knight on d4. b3 is a key square for black, as you'll see. Okay, but we see the queen. Oh, we can attack the queen, but it's not all that good because now black's got control of b3, and that's a big difference. What is white controlling in the black camp? Nothing. I can't see a b4, but what's good is b4? b3 is more valuable than b4. What else is white controlling? Nothing. So black's got his development already, and even with his now bad bishop, he's got a great game. And this is just a blunder. It just magnifies the faults in the white position because white can't gain that pawn back conveniently. Here comes another tactic. Maybe this is some of the purpose of rook d1 was eventually going to aim for this. I don't know. As I said, he probably didn't have a plan, but black just starts exposing the tactical flaws with white's demonstration here. He drives the knight away. The knight was needed there to support c4, and white tries this, and let's see, how much time did he take on that move? 14 to 55 is 41 seconds. He spent 4 seconds on a blunder. White, you have every reason to scream at yourself because you're not taking your time. And black just demonstrates the fallacy of this with a simple combination. Now black has won a piece, and the game is won. And I'll just he's won the exchange, but the game is won because now look at those pawns. Look at that incredible pawn chain. And even though black has a bad bishop, how's white going to take advantage of it? White's bishop is horrible here, even though it's ideally we want the pawns on the color of our bishop for the ending. How's white going to attack any of those pawns? And look how advanced they are. Black is crushing here. He's just given up the exchange, and white has no answer. And white tries. He tries to create some threats, but those pawns are just too potent. Here, look at that. It's just major trouble here. And now black achieves a material advantage. Now black's a piece ahead. Now white's got rid of those dangerous pawns, but at the price of a piece. And the onslaught just continues. And here comes another pawn. And white continues to move quickly, but really doesn't matter. He's lost. And finally, at 2 pieces down, he decided that's enough. I'm going to give it up. But wasn't the greatest game, but white really self-destructed, and he did it for 2 reasons. Number 1, he didn't have a plan, and number 2, he was moving too fast. Now, number 1 is answered because of number 2. He was moving too fast. And I'll say it again. This is Team 45-45 League. That means you start with 45 minutes on your clock, and every move you get 45 seconds added on. I defy anyone to go to a major tournament with a camera at 1 hour into a game and into every round and take photographs of every clock and show me that a large amount of those clocks still have the original time left. You won't find it. You will in a couple boards, but you won't find it like you do in 45-45 League. Guys, take your time, or you're going to lose. You're going to get embarrassed on these videos, and everyone's just going to hope to play you because it's easy rating points. And your teammates are going to scream at you and want you off the team. What happens if nobody puts you on a team? Can you play in 45-45 League? No, you can't. If you want to play that time control, you have to jump in the 45-minute pool at ICC. And you know what? You'll have lots of company there because most of them play just as fast as you do. Okay, not picking on anybody. I'm picking on everybody that blitzes in this league. I thank everyone for their time. Take care. We'll talk to you soon. Bye now.